morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The Senate will formally convene today as an impeachment court to begin deliberations on the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte.
The PNP is investigating claims that police vehicles escorted Senator Bato de la Rosa out of the Senate after last week's shooting incident.
Voter registration ends today for the upcoming barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections.
The Department of Agriculture, Department of Trade and Industry, and Food Terminal Incorporated conducted a joint price and supply monitoring at the Mutya ng Pasig Mega Market today.
First in the news, all eyes are on the Senate as it formally moves into impeachment mode. The Senate is set to convene as an impeachment court for the trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, following days of political drama, security concerns, and a shakeup in the chamber's leadership. Here's the report.
After the chase and the change in leadership, senators are set to return to work today for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. On Friday, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano sent a letter to members of the chamber. All senators are being asked to attend at 3 in the afternoon as the Senate convenes as an impeachment court. And as they take on the role of senator judges, they are also being asked to wear their robes. Senator Jinggoy Estrada, for his part, showed how he is preparing. The senator was seen going through the transmitted articles of impeachment. Meanwhile, in his Facebook Live on Saturday, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano again insisted that the impeachment of VP Sara was not the reason behind the coup in the Senate leadership.
I hope those who made a judgment, may you be a religious leader, may you be deans of law schools, may you be a private citizen, sabi ko naman po, we accept your criticism, dapat maging aktivista, dapat kalampagin nyo kami.
But according to Philippine Society for Public Administration President Ederson Tapia, there was clearly a hidden agenda behind the sudden appearance of Senator Bato de la Rosa in the Senate, just days before the Vice President was impeached by the House.
It's quite obvious kasi we have to admit that the lead of the previous majority was very thin. It will become more difficult for the prosecution to establish their case given that the terrain is not exactly friendly to them.
Meanwhile, ahead of the trial, several congressmen attended the Mass for Peace and Accountability at the EDSA Shrine. One of the prosecutors, ML Party List Representative Laila de Lima, had this appeal to the center judges.
We certainly hope that they will do their job impartially. Kasi yun naman talaga ang nakalagay. Even sa rules nila, they are being asked to exhibit political neutrality. While sitting as senator judges, they should exercise political neutrality.
The 11 members of the House Prosecution Panel will also attend.
PNP Chief Police General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. has ordered an investigation into claims that police vehicles may have escorted Senator Bato de la Rosa out of the Senate on May 14. Here is the report.
Early morning of May 14, hours after the shooting incident inside the Senate, several vehicles were seen leaving the compound. In footage obtained by News 5 at around 2:32 a.m., a white SUV exited the basement with those inside still unconfirmed. Based on the Senate logbook, Senator Robin Padilla left the Senate at 2:35 a.m. More than 30 minutes later, a black van exited the premises, followed by a white vehicle with PNP markings. The white SUV is believed to have been the vehicle used by Senator Bato de la Rosa when he left the Senate. The senator was under Senate protective custody at the time of the incident. In a statement, Police Colonel Joselito De Sesto confirmed he was inside the police mobile that exited the Senate. He clarified that the vehicle was not part of any convoy or escort for any personality, saying their movement was part of a legitimate police operation. He added that the timing of their exit alongside other vehicles was purely coincidental. PNP Chief Police General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. has ordered an investigation into the incident. Nartates stressed that the PNP does not act blindly, saying the integrity of the institution is at stake. He directed an independent review of logbooks, CCTV footage, footage and radio dispatches to establish the full sequence of events. Meanwhile, the Office of the Solicitor General has commented on the motion filed by Senator Bato de la Rosa before the Supreme Court. In an 83-page submission, the OSG asked the court to dismiss or deny the senator's urgent manifestation, saying it lacks merit. The Department of Justice earlier said it will take no action against the senator until the Supreme Court issues a ruling.
Nirerespeto natin ang mga karapatan ng isang nakaupong senador. Diba? Halal siya ng maraming Pilipino. Diba? Pero yung pag nag-attempt ka sa galigtaan ng gantong sitwasyon, na lilipad ka o pupunta ka, teka, ibang usapan yan. Hindi naman namin pwedeng pabayaan yung obligasyon ng ating gobyerno. Diba? Na mapanagot siya.
Immigration authorities, meanwhile, continue to monitor the senator, warning that any attempt to leave the country could result in arrest, even without a final court decision. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
At this point, let's talk to Attorney Israelito Torion, Legal Counsel for Senator Bato de la Rosa. Attorney, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Attorney.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Magandang umaga po.
Alright, Attorney, well, first of all, kayo na po ang, magpa-file ng comment, no? Ano po ang status nito?
Well, actually, tapos na kanina and we are just refining the same and we intend to file it on or before 2 o'clock this afternoon po.
Okay, pero officially ba, ano po yung...
dito sa amin.
ano po yung third day dapat, Attorney, or yung deadline nyo?
The deadline for the respondents or the government was last Saturday and I have 3 days. In law, you do not include the Saturday, the first day
okay.
in counting. You count Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So, Tuesday. Pero we will file it ngayong Monday.
Okay, and ano po yung comment nyo, if you can give a little no, on the comment ng Solicitor General regarding the issue?
Well, isa lang ang masasabi ko dyan. No? The Solicitor General, no, I hope we are not violating the sub judice rule, but this is pursuant to the right of the public also to know kasi this is a case of transcendental importance. I think I can be given some leeway by the Supreme Court here. The Solicitor General failed to address one question lang. What law can it cite authorizing the Executive Department in outrightly arresting Senator De La Rosa and surrendering him to the ICC without passing through local courts? No, that is absence proves our point that our Constitution reigns supreme within Philippine territories, that the Bill of Rights was specifically enshrined in the 1987 Constitution to check on the excesses of the government. Kasi nga, nandyan yan para para magiging bar po against government excesses. And ito na nga po yung classic textbook example. We have an executive department which seems to treat a foreign warrant of arrest as if it is a local warrant of arrest without going through confirmation process by our local courts. Maling-mali po yan. It violates our 1987 Constitution. It violates customary international law kasi all constitutional democracies require resort to local courts before transmitting a person or surrendering a person to the foreign court. Kaya nga, na-cite ako kanina, yung example niyan, Italy, concerning, Al-Masri na SIM case. Siya, Libyan siya, nadakip sa Italy, pero yung Italian courts recognized his petition before the local Italian courts and found that there were procedural infirmities and released him and deported him back to Libya. I likewise cited the case of yung Simone Gbagbo in Ivory Coast, where there was an ICC warrant of arrest against him, and it was supposedly to be applied or to be served against him in Ivory Coast, but the Ivory Coast local courts recognized his petition and tried the same and likewise found that there were violations of his rights as a human being. So, yun na, Yan ang practice. I can even cite 22 other cases proving that constitutional democracies really have this customary international law that foreign warrants of arrest would pass through their courts. Only the Philippines is unique. Philippines is unique such that we are willing to have our Filipino citizens transported right away without passing through local courts. Wag naman sana mangyayari yan.
Ito, dikit lang dito to data. Attorney, while kasi sinasite nila yung, of course, yung much talked about RA 9851, very vague kasi ito at hindi naka-define dito yung process or constitutionality or hindi ini-explain. Ngayon, are there any precedents or any cases in the past that could give light to this or ngayon pa lang mangyayari ito?
Ngayon pa lang nangyayari ito. Kaya nga, tinuturo natin sa law school in cases of doubt, you look at the intent of the lawmakers. And we looked at it, no? Yung framers ng RA 9851. At ang sponsor pala nito, si Senator Gordon. At ang nag-interpolate, si Senator Pangilinan. And it was there that it was emphasized that this law was actually passed in order to fortify local criminal courts. And on March 9 of 2009, Senator Biazon likewise interpolated Senator Gordon, and it was likewise there that was emphasized that local constitutional processes have to be followed before a person is, surrendered to the foreign court. Why? Because the Philippines did not copy Part 9 of the Rome Statute concerning international cooperation and judicial assistance. While it may be true that we copied some, but we did not copy all, including the provision on Part 9 which supposedly provides for the procedural mechanisms as how surrender would be effectuated. Wala po tayo dyan.
So, walang
Kaya
guide.
kailangan sana i-amend mo na itong Republic Act 9851, provide for the procedural rules as to how we can implement surrender. Kasi nga po, kung wala tayong procedural rules, hindi masunod yung ating 1987 Constitution. Mapawalang bisa yung human rights po ni Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Well, if I'm not mistaken po, pati po ba yung Article 59 ng Rome Statute ay ini-invoke din po ng inyong kampo?
Precisely. Kaya nga po, Article 58 governs the issuance of warrant of arrest. Sabi nila, even under Article 59, granting ex argumenti gratia, sabi nila, you could no longer invoke that because we are no longer a member of the
Hindi na
Rome
tayo
Statute.
miyembro, yeah.
Kalokohan yung mga argumento na ganyan. You could not cherry pick which provisions of the Rome Statute. Ang amin nga granting ex argumenti gratia. Sabi namin, wala nang jurisdiction ng ICC, Pero granting for the sake of argument na meron ngang jurisdiction. Pati nga yung basis ninyo, yung Rome Statute, nandun sa Article 59. Nandun yung resort to competent judicial authority. Bakit hindi nyo yan susundin? Ang magkaiba lang kasi niyan, ang effect, kung dito tayo sa Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution, medyo mas mahaba yung proseso. Yung extradition process, kaya nga in-invoke sana namin yan by analogy, mahaba din yung proseso. Mahaba yung proseso, kaya nga kasi nirerespeto yung karapatang pantao. Under Article 59, medyo siya, abbreviated, pero nandun pa rin, nakalagay pa rin, that one must pass through local competent authority.
But what about the argument on residual obligation po natin?
The residual obligations appertains to the jurisdiction of the ICC to take cognizance of the Philippine situation from 2011 to 2019, but it should not be differentiated from enforcement of a warrant of arrest. Kaya nga po yung mga kaibigan natin na mga experts, tanungin nyo na sila, yung surrender mechanism ba, may procedural mechanism ba as to how to implement it? Wala silang masagot niyan. Kasi nga sa Cayetano versus doon nga sa Cayetano case, no? Pangilinan versus Cayetano, may interpellation nga doon si Justice Leonen. At tinanong yung abogado, did we copy the entire, mechanism under the Rome Statute? Nag-concede siya, hindi. Including Part 9 on judicial assistance. So, ang ibig sabihin niyan, our Constitution has to be followed. Hindi po manok si Senator Bato na kosa mo lang dakpin at dalahin doon sa Hague, Netherlands. Tao po siya. May karapatang pangtao po siya. Kaya nga yung Bill of Rights nandyan to check on government excesses in 1987. This is a perfect example why we should follow the Bill of Rights of the 1987 Constitution.
So the arrest warrant of Senator Bato de la Rosa is no different from the arrest warrant of former President Rodrigo Duterte. What makes you think po ngayon na maglalabas ng favorable decision ng Supreme Court on your camp?
Because now the Supreme Court has more time to study the case, no? Noon kasi nung pag-file ko, I am still the lead counsel for President Rodrigo Duterte and Senator Bato de la Rosa. Dalawa sila nag-file nito Original nga ito, si Senator Bato de la Rosa lang. Isinama lang, tinawagan ako the night before. Kaya nga, we had to amend it the night before. So, ang sa amin lang, noon siguro hindi pa nakita lahat ng entire gamut of the facts as well as the legalities involved. Hindi nakita yung intent ng Republic Act 9851. Hindi nakita yung na hindi lang ito 1987 Constitution ang basis namin, international customary law. Article 9 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Likewise governs that any person arrested must have the right to a recourse, judicial recourse. Articles 8 and 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights likewise states that any person arrested must have also a judicial recourse. So, ang sa amin is, this is not only a 1987 Constitution Bill of Rights matter, this is likewise an international customary law matter.
Attorney, may I ask you na rin po kung nakausap niyo na po si Senator Bato, no? When was the last time you talked to him? And of course, people are talking about him na umalis po sa Senado at ang tawag po sa ginawa niya ay pagtakas.
Hindi po pagtakas yun. He is making himself unavailable because you were able to see in the morning. Kaya nga nakakatawa yung mga sinasabi na drama daw yun or ano. Morning pa lang nandun ang NBI. Ano ba naman yan?
Kung hindi po yung pagtakas,
Attorney.
attorney.
Morning pa lang yung NBI nandun and with the intention of arresting him. Yun. So, pumunta pa nga si former Senator Trillanes doon, pinakita pa yung warrant para siyang sheriff ng ICC. Hindi naman siya sheriff ng ICC as if to justify his supposed arrest. So ang ibig sabihin niyan, the government through certain departments, hindi naman lahat, have that idea that really they can arrest him right away without going through confirmation via local judicial process.
Pero,
If
attorney,
endorse nga, kailangan mo pa under Rule 39 Section 48 ng confirmation proceedings. How much more an arrest warrant, a foreign warrant of arrest?
Yeah, pero attorney, kung hindi po siya tumakas, allegedly ayaw niyo pong tanggapin yung word na yun, pero bakit po siya umalis sa Senado ng wee hours of the night, without
I can only
informing
speculate,
everybody
I
that
can
he is
only
going to
speculate.
leave the
Kasi nga po,
Senate
nung
premises?
nagkaputukan, nakita namin yung reaksyon ng mga senador masyadong nakakaapekto doon sa safety ng mga sitting senators, yung mga staff, yung mga media doon. Natakot sino ba hindi matakot doon? Mga parila na yun. Kung hindi lang ako sanay sa mga kaso ko sa Maguindanao at saka sa Barm areas, siguro ako rin lumipad na siguro ang espiritu ko. Maybe knowing the personality of Senator De La Rosa, kasi I know him, taga ano kami, Davao del Sur. I know him since bata pa ako. Ang bait nun, na ayaw niya makahasel, kaya he made himself unavailable.
Alright, lastly, attorney, and quickly lang po, do you believe, like ibang sentiments po ng ibang mga senador, na possible political persecution ito at saan po nanggagaling yung persecution?
Well, I tend to subscribe to that idea that this is indeed all politics, no? And this, the arrest of Senator Bato is, I think, tailored to fit a certain, the opposing political narrative na ano daw siya, meron daw siyang kinalaman doon sa crimes against humanity. And kung basahin mo nga yung initial portion ng comment ng Solicitor General, it is as if he is already guilty. no? Parang argumentum ad misericordiam, no? Appeal to pity. Hindi pa nga siya hindi pa nga accusations pa lang yan lahat. And yung kanyang warrant of arrest hindi pa na-confirm dito. Kaya nga po, dahan-dahan naman tayo sa pag-judge sa kanya na fugitive from justice siya kasi tumakas siya kasi wala pa po yun. Wala pa pong local confirmation na ganun nga siya. Local judicial confirmation na ganun nga siya.
Lastly, kailan niyo po huling nakausap si Senator?
An hour or two prior to his alleged exit from the Senate.
Ano pong sinabi niya sa inyo?
Yun nga, yung mga legal alternatives
Pero hindi
namin,
niya po sinabi sa inyo na aalis siya?
Section 17 na nasabi ko na sa inyo.
Oo.
Pero wala kami napag-usapan about naalis pala siya doon para hindi na makaperwisyo sa kanyang mga kasama.
Can you also confirm that he also asked daw for PNP custody?
That I cannot confirm. It was general, yung magiting na
Yes.
General Mau Aplaska yung nagsabi niyan. Hindi ako privy nun. Wala na ako dun sa Senado when that allegedly happened.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Attorney Estrelito Torreon, Legal Counsel for Senator Bato de la Rosa. Good morning and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, joining us now is Attorney Domingo Cayosa, former IBB President. Good morning and welcome to the program, Attorney.
Attorney.
Good morning, magandang umaga sa ating mga kababayan.
Attorney, narinig niyo po ba yung kanyang mga argumento?
First of all, yung comment niyo po doon sa argument ni Attorney Torreon.
Well, I only heard the last portion, but it's a professional respect for every lawyer. Kakilala at kaibigan natin ang iba dyan, they're competent. They have their own personal beliefs or professional evaluation of what has happened. Tayo ho naman, we don't represent any party. We don't represent any political interest. Naiintindihan natin yung mga magkakabilang panig ng abogado. Of course, it's their professional duty to do their best to defend or persecute for their client. So, intindihin lang natin sila. Siyempre, kung meron mang nakikitang batas and it is susceptible to different kinds of interpretation, siyempre, ang isulong ng magkabilang panig yung version na paborable sa kanilang kliyente. So wala na ho tayo doon. We don't want to comment there. Sa atin lang ho, when we are asked, we are interviewed, we just state what the law says, what the jurisprudence says, at yun lamang po.
Yun lang, gusto ko lang klaruhin, Attorney, yung argument yung sa RA 9851, yung lack of procedural guidelines daw. Wala pong president or historical history ng pinanggagalingan?
Well, ang linaw-linaw ho nung batas kasi, di ba? At no amount of opinion by any lawyer, including me, or in any media pronouncement, or even pronouncements or resolutions by the Senate or opinion of the Senate President, sino man, can change the law. Ang sa atin lang ho kasi, yung batas ang linaw-linaw. Na kung meron ng ibang korte that has acquired jurisdiction at may warrant of arrest, ang option ng ating executive branch, maaring isurrender doon. Period. Wala ko na sinabing iba bang proseso. So, tingin ko, ang linaw ko ng batas, hindi naman kinakailangan meron pang ibang mga detalye na gagawin para ipatupad yun.
Kung ganun po kalinaw yung batas, attorney, bakit po hindi kaagad ma-implement ng executive ito? Even the president said, okay, walang stand down, wala munang mag-aaresto, etc. And this arrest warrant is no different from the arrest warrant of the former president.
That's correct. But it's not accurate to say na hindi ito in-implement. As a matter of fact, if you listen very carefully to what NBI was saying, they were there to implement that warrant of arrest. Nung una, nagkagulo sa Senado, naintindihan natin kasi akala nung iba, si IDG sumpi na lang. And nakita yung ICC warrant of arrest, sabi nila, peke yan. Ngayon, kinonfirm na ng ICC. So, that's already a fact that is well established. Ngayon, bakit sinabi ng wag muna? Siguro sa tingin ng presidente, exercising his discretion, masyadong maingin, palamigid lang. But the momentary pause o temporary pause niyan para i-accommodate siguro kung anong pakiusap ng mga senador o kaya hintayin yung Supreme Court. Whatever the reason of the President, we leave it to the discretion of the President. But it does not change the law. Yung resolution ng Kongreso, pananalita ng Senate President, pananalita ng sinumang abogado o yung exercise of statesmanship ng presidente doesn't change the law. So anytime nagugustuhin ng executive branch na isurrender yung may warrant of arrest galing sa ICC, dun ho sa batas na yan. Hindi ho yan foreign law, local law yan. We don't even need to invoke foreign law or international treaty, which is, by the way, part of the law of the land. Ito ho, gawa na ho ng sarili nating Kongreso. So, we cannot add anything to that. So, maaring magkakaiba interpretasyon, kaya tumakbo sa Supreme Court, but no amount of argument will change the wording of that law.
Before we move on to the impeachment nga, I'd like to ask you, given that today daw ata ipa-file ni Attorney Torion yung comment, usually how long po, Attorney, in your experience, does the Supreme Court rule on things like this?
Well, una, to be fair to the Supreme Court, hindi ho tama naman na wala silang desisyon. So far, meron na ho silang desisyon, di ho ba? Ang hinihingi ng petitioner ni Senator Bato de la Rosa at mga abogado niya, ipahinto, TRO. So nagdesisyon ng Supreme Court, hindi namin ibibigay yan sa ngayon. Di ba? So malinaw ho yun. Ngayon, yung pag-order sa gobyerno na mag-comment at saka yung nagbigay ng option kina Atty. Torion na mag-comment and mag-reply, part of discretion ho nila yan. Para siguro lahat mabigyan ng pagkakataon, magpaliwanag ulit, humingi ulit, lahat na yan para walang masabi na railroaded at political na naman ito. So that's part of the process. But so far, the Supreme Court, by its inaction, has already exercised its judgment. They're not entitled to TRO. We don't know if that will change. But ito lang ho, yung sitwasyon ni Senator Bato, halos kapareho ho na sitwasyon ni President Duterte. At yung issue na yan, it's just an issue of law. Matagal na ho yung petisyon ng pamilya ni President Duterte. Hanggang ngayon ho, wala pa rin hong malinaw.
Yun nga po.
So that should already telegraph kung ano yung kaisipan ng at least majority of the justices. Ngayon, bago pa dumating yung, bago pa linabas yung actual warrant of arrest at bago na-confirm ng ICC, yung warrant of arrest, di ba tumakbo na si Senator Bato noon humingi ng TRO. Pero hindi rin ho yun inaksyonan niya, hindi rin binigay. So these are just indications. We don't know what the Supreme Court will decide eventually, pero maganda, gaya ng ang gusto nyo at gusto nating lahat, sana naman ho sa lalong madaling panahon. Kasi ho, yung mga naunang mga petisyon, yung walang binigay na relief, is already indicative court. Pero para sana walang kaduda-duda at para hindi pa ulit-ulit itong argumento na magkabilang panig, di ba? Sa social media, sa media at kung saan-saan, di ba mas maganda sana rin-resolve ng Supreme Court ito kahit paso na. Kasi in many cases, the Supreme Court has said, kahit paso na, kahit moot and academic, didesisyonan namin ito para magagabayan ang future mga actuations. Ito ho kasi nagkulang din ang Supreme Court Hindi ho nila ina-actionan So ngayon, kanya-kanya ulit tayong mga interpretasyon, politikahan dyan, propaganda dyan, hindi ho nakakatulong for yung malinaw na rule of law. So yun ang pakiusap natin sa Supreme Court. Pwede ho ba naman gampanan na ang inyong tungkulin sa lalong madaling panahon at tundukan yung mga ganito para hindi ho paulit-ulit. Nakakapagod na ho yung mga diskusyon at nalilito ang taong bayan. And it adds to the instability of our society.
Tama. No? Kaya nga po ang tawag po sa kanila ngayon, the gods of Padre Paura. Pero, po, attorney, tama po yung inyong punto doon tungkol sa pagdedesisyon ng SC. And we asked that also to Attorney Torion kanina na hindi po ba indicative na po yan, na hindi naman po sila nagkaroon ng ruling before doon sa kaso ni former President. Ang sinabi na po niya sa amin ay baka daw po kasi ngayon mas nagkakaroon na ng mas malawakang pag-aaral dun sa kaso. So let's say for example, hypothetically, Attorney, what will be the effect of the ruling of the Supreme Court? Let's say, for example, favorable ito kay Senator Bato de la Rosa. How will this affect the case of the former president?
Wala na hong mangyayari doon kasi nga may jurisdiction na yung
Yeah.
wala ho namang kapangyarihan ng Supreme Court
That's right.
na utusan ang ICC kasi that's an international court. That's not even a state. Kaya mali din ho yung sinasabing extradition. That's a local court of a foreign state. That's an international tribunal, internationally established, internationally recognized, at meron ho siyang malinaw na mandato and jurisdiction. Hindi ho under sa Supreme Court ito. Kaya din, kahit mag-utos ang Supreme Court, iibahin nila ngayon ang kanilang desisyon tungkol sa similar issues sa TRO at saka pagpapatigil ng pag-aaresto. Hindi ho yan magiging effect. Wala hong epekto yan dun sa ICC. Kasi insulated ho naman yung ICC from the political happenings in our country. Sabi mo, ang Supreme Court natin, to be truly independent and to be a trustworthy judiciary, hindi dapat yan na i-impluwensyahan sa mga Senate shake-up, mga drama dito, mga argumento ng kahit kani-kanino. Importante, tignan nila ano bang nasa konstitusyon, ano bang nasa batas, ano ba yung jurisprudence nila. Kasi meron ako silang jurisprudence yung na kinikilala nila yung jurisdiction ng ICC for, kahit nag-withdraw na tayo, for those cases that have been investigated or prosecuted when we were still a member, bago tayo nag-withdraw. Meron na hong jurisprudence ang Supreme Court. And I don't think it would also be wise and fair for them to change that na naman dahil iba ng gihip ng politika.
Well, Attorney, before we let you go, of course, we want to ask you about the impeachment of VP Sara Duterte. Today, supposedly po mag-convene ang Senado para po maging Senate impeachment court po sila. Of course, may mga nakikita po tayong balita o dun sa mga interview po ni Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano saying na magkukonvene naman ang Senado if all the senators agree with the rules, no? At ang nakikita po natin dito ng may if dito ay yung isa pong proposal na amendment po ni Senator Rodante Marcoleta na payagan na bumoto ang isang senador kahit wala doon sa plenaryo. Ano po ang inyong take on that?
Well, wala dapat kondisyon mag-convene sila and dinggin nila dun sa after they convene yung mga proposal for changes kung meron man. Plus, and I think it's too late in the day. Di ba? Nagsalita na sila noon na okay na yan. There is nothing wrong with the old rules of the Senate. Alawa, kahit mayroong resolusyon si Senator Marcoleta para i-accommodate yung mga nag-absent o nagtatagong mga senador, mga fugitives from justice at makapag-participate, that's just his motion. Hindi naman malinaw, hindi pa naman ina-adapt yan ng mga senador. So yung mga ganyan, hindi dapat yan gawing precondition for convening. Are motions and options or developments that can easily be tackled and disposed with by the Senate. So, hindi ho na naman sana gawing rason yan. Of course, option yan ng lahat. Malaya naman. Magkakaisipan ng mga yan. But eventually, all of these things will be resolved by majority vote. Madali ho naman, huwag sana gawing rason ito para i-postpone o maantala yung sinasabi ng Supreme undue delay sa impeachment case na ito.
Alright, as always, maraming salamat po sa inyong insights and of course for your time, Attorney Domingo Cayosa, former IBP President. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Maraming salamat. Magandang umaga po sa lahat.
The International Criminal Court prosecution has proposed that the Crimes Against Humanity trial of former President Rodrigo Duterte begins on November 30. In a May 15 filing, ICC Deputy Prosecutor Mame Mandiaye Niang said pretrial proceedings are expected to conclude by the end of September. Now, the first status conference in the case is scheduled for May 27. The charges against Duterte were confirmed by the ICC on April 23 2026.
Now at this point, let's get the latest from the House of Representatives. We have Mobile Journal Amy Atienza reporting live on the ground. Amy, kamusta dyan?
Yes, good morning, Angela Diego. Today nga daw inaasahan na magko-convene ang Senate Impeachment Court doon sa Senado. At nung nakaraang araw na pagdesisyonan nga nitong 11-member House Prosecution Panel na sama-sama silang pupunta doon para nga makita at ma-observe yung mga kinakailangang yung mga gagawin sa pag-convene nga ng impeachment court. Pero kaninang umaga, medyo nakakarinig na tayo na may possibility daw na hindi na muna pumunta. And yun nga yung iniintay din natin ngayon dito sa aking likuran. Nandito tayo sa may People's Center dito sa House of Representatives dahil nga daw nagkaroon muli ng pagpupulong ang prosecution panel para matalakay kung nararapat pa nga ba na pumunta doon sa Senado ngayong araw. So far, nagkaroon din tayo ng mga interviews with other members of the prosecution panel. At yun nga, nakaset na rin yung kanilang presentation kung saan sila ma-assign sa articles of impeachment. Si Justice Committee Chairperson Jervil Luistro, of course, as the chairperson of the committee daw, ay ma-assign sa 4 na articles of impeachment. So, si Representative Terry Ridon, pati na rin si Representative Joel Chua, they would focus on the numbers, so more on the unexplained wealth and the confidential funds of Vice President Sara Duterte. And yun, tuloy-tuloy din ang nagiging preparations pa dito. Supposedly, magkakaroon din sana ng press conference at around 11:30 today, pero na-cancel nga dahil nga din sa meeting na ginagawa ngayon ng House Prosecution Panel. So, abangan pa natin kung ano pa nga ba yung magiging developments with regards to this.
All right, thank you for that report, Mobile Journal Amy Atienza.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. As reported, the Senate is set to convene as impeachment court for the trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Let's get the latest from our Mobile Journal, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, kamusta dyan?
Angela, Diego, good morning. Sa labas ng Senado, specifically doon sa gate, nakakalat yung hilihilera ng mga pulis para siguruhin yung kaayusan at kapayapaan sa araw na ito. Dahil bukod sa regular session at yung Ways and Means Committee na pinangungunahan ni Senator Pia Cayetano, may hearing siya around 12 o'clock noon, inaasahan din mamaya yung pagkukonvene ng mga senador bilang impeachment court. And ang naging kasulatan kasi dyan ni Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano, inaasahan na lahat ng mga senador, both from the majority and minority, ay pupunta on time at maaaring suotin na rin yung kanilang impeachment robes para sa formal na pagkukonvene nila, yung pagtatake nila ng oath bilang senator judges. Ito yung sinabi ni SP Cayetano nitong weekend na dinadebunk niya yung nagiging claims over the weekend na nagkaroon daw ng kudeta para paharangan itong impeachment laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte.
Meron naman yung issue sa pinag-uusapan ng rules with regarding yung sa motion ni Senator Marcoleta. Will they act on that today?
Yung lahat kasi nakadepende ito sa magiging agenda nila sa session. And usually nilalabas yan ng majority around noon o kaya naman mga early lunch around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Part ng agenda kung ano yung magiging priority. For example, sa mga on the legislative side, yung mga priority bills na hinihintay for approval, kung may privilege speeches man dyan o ibang mga concerns na iniraise ng mga senador, maging kung may pending resolution sila or motions na needed na kinakailangan ng boto o kaya naman ng aksyon. And yung isa sa mga inaabangan pa natin is yung magiging assignment naman ng mga senador sa kanilang committee chairmanships. Dahil nga nagkaroon ng kudeta, iba ang alignment ngayon ng mga senador, yung dating majority, ngayon minority, yung dating minority, ngayon majority, kaya magkakaroon again ng dibs ang majority sa kukunin nilang committee chairmanships.
Okay, so I remember kasi under the leadership of Senator Tito Soto, sabi niya, pag mag-convene sila ng as impeachment court, i-adapt na lang nila yung rules, 'di ba, ng Senate before, no, para dun sa impeachment court nila. Ito bang under the leadership of Senator Cayetano, ano yung magiging rules nila on the impeachment?
Sa ngayon, wala pang nabibigay na final details kasi bukod dyan sa rules, ang inihintay din natin yung magiging schedule ng Senado bilang impeachment court. Kasi nung si former SP Soto pa ang nanunungkulan, ang nasasabi pa MWF ibibigay for the impeachment trial. Meron din namang suggestions na morning, 2 p.m. and earlier impeachment o kaya naman hapon impeachment session para daw mabigyan ng time yung functions ng Senado bilang impeachment court pati yung legislative functions nila. Ang kasama rin dyan na inaabangan natin na mapagkukuhanan pa ng ibang info is kung sino yung magiging impeachment spokesperson ng Senado. Kasi once na nag-take sila ng oath nila at nasuot na nila yung kanilang mga impeachment probes, ang sinabi dyan ni former SP Soto, hindi na raw sila maaaring makapagsalita, lalong-lalo patungkol sa impeachment trial. So yung smaller details, for example, adopting ng rules, maaaring pag-usapan yan kapag nag-convene na sila formally. Kasi ang sabi ni former SP Soto during that time, yung schedule, yung rules, lahat na pag-uusapan here and there, pero yung pinaka-formal na pag-adapt nito, mangyayari lang daw yan kapag nagkaroon ng pag-convene na bilang impeachment court.
The reason why, the reason why I'm asking that, kasi importante din yung sinasabi nga ni Diego kanina, yung sa proposal na amendment ni Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Are they going to discuss it before mag-convene ng as an impeachment court? Or I don't know kasi 'di ba ang kanyang proposal ay makaboto kahit wala ang isang senador, 'di ba, diyan sa plenaryo.
And yung suggestion na kung maaari magkaroon ng participation via online, kung may senador man na wala dito or physically absent, and kung ilalagay lang natin sa konteksto, ang nasa ganyang sitwasyon kasi si Senator Bato de la Rosa. Pero so far, wala pang nagiging response from the leadership, and maaring mapasok yan kung magiging pertaining na yan sa impeachment, participation ng isang senador sa impeachment proceeding, mapapasok yan kapag nag-convene na sila bilang impeachment court at plansyahin na nila lahat ng rules na kinakailangan. Yan nga yung isa sa inaabangan natin kung, for example, wala si Senator Bato, pero kailangan kasi sa botohan ng impeachment, lalo na sa final vote ng mga senador, ang kailangan 2/3, so that 16 members of the 24 senator judges kailangan physically present. So kung magkakaroon ng changes doon sa magiging rules at magiging maaaring mag-participate online or remotely, magkakaroon ngayon ng epekto doon sa magiging proceeding. So maraming intricate details on legalities na matatouch kung sakaling magalaw yung naging motion o kaya naging suggestion ni Senator Marcoleta.
And lastly, of course, Mary Mo, lahat ng pinag-uusapan natin also depends kung sino ang Senate President moving forward. Ano ang balita sa umaalingasaw na kudeta na naman with supposedly si Senator Mig Zubiri or Senator Pangilinan?
Senator Kiko Pangilinan, nagbigay na siya ng kanyang komento na hindi niya nakikita yung sarili niyang kukunin yung liderato. For Senator Mig Zubiri, siya yung majority leader last time, pero ngayon independent member siya ng Senado unless magkakaroon ng realignment ulit itong dalawa. Kasi Senator JB Ejercito, pati si Senator Mig Zubiri, pareho sila nag-abstain nung nagkaroon ng pagboboto for Senate presidency between Soto and Cayetano. Pero ngayon wala pa again final say. Tahimik pa naman dito sa Senate building, wala pa tayong ibang nakakausap na mga senador. More likely mamayang noon kapag lumabas sila Senator Pia Cayetano. Ang nakausap pa nga lang natin on another note si Attorney Jamie Bondok, legal counsel ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. And natanong natin sa kanya kung may impormasyon ba kung nasaan ngayon itong si Bato. Ang sabi niya, wala raw silang alam. Hindi rin daw nila alam na may pagpapakita dito. Hindi rin daw nila alam na may pag-alis ng Senado itong si Senator Bato. And kine-question nila yung sinasabi ng DOJ na yes, may immigration lookout bulletin sa kanya pero walang hold departure order. So ano raw ang magiging basehan kung sakaling may pag-arestong gagawin sa senador kung may plano itong pag-alis ng bansa. Pero so far, wala raw silang ibang idea pa and nandito rin sila ngayon para rin na tumingin pa kung anong mangyayari sa loob at labas ng Senado.
Alright, Merrimon, keep us updated. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Merrimon Reyes, reporting live from the Senate.
All right, the COMELEC is urging eligible Filipinos to beat the registration deadline for the upcoming barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Let's get the latest from Mobile Journal. Francis Rivera, kamusta na dyan, Francis?
Yes, Diego and Angela. Dito tayo ngayon sa registration venue dito sa Maynila. Naasahan nga nila na mas dadami pa yung mga wahabol ngayong huling araw nga ng voters registration. No? Andito tayo sa isang venue or isang lugar kung saan dito yung lugar ng mga District 1 na voter. No? Na ayon dun sa ating mga COMELEC officer na nakausap, tinatayang nasa 200 to 300,000 yung registered voter na meron sila dito sa District 1 alone. Ano? At doon naman sa kabila, sa may District 2, District 2 ay natanong natin ay nasa 148,000 or more than 40,000 yung inaasahan naman nila magpaparehistro. Bahagyang bumabayang doon sa naitala nilang 150 doon sa District 2 na 150,000, mahigit 152,000 dahil mayroon daw kasing mga nakarehistrong pangalan, no, or mga pangalan na nawala doon sa listahan due to failure doon sa pagboto nila or 2 beses nilang hindi pagboto sa mga nakaraang eleksyon, kaya natanggal sila doon sa listahan. Kaya yung iba naman dito talagang kumbaga ina-activate na lang yung kanilang mga registration o yung kanilang mga pangalan para mapasama din doon sa listahan ng mga botante dito sa Maynila. Angelo, Diego.
Yes, Francis, so far ba wala kang aberya na nangyayari dyan? Kasi I think the last time ang nagiging problema, hindi daw mahanap yung past records ng ibang yung nagpaparenew, yung mga na-deactivate supposedly.
Yes, Diego, so far smooth daw yung smooth daw, no, ayon dun sa COMELEC officer na nakakausap natin. Smooth yung nagiging process o yung takbo ng proseso para doon sa mga botanteng nais magparehistro, no. At actually sa ilang oras din natin pag-stay, halos wala pa naman nagiging reklamo yung ibang mga botante na nakapila dito. Although yun nga lang medyo mainit, no, dahil yung iba kasi dito sa kanila ang standby area dito doon mismo sa may parking side nitong SM o itong SM at bago sila papasukin dito sa mismong mall or dito sa mismong loob nito. So medyo may kainitan. Pero so far dun sa nagiging process, wala naman silang nagiging reklamo at wala pa rin naman tayong nakukuhang impormasyon na merong nagkakaroon ng delay or mga nawawalang pangalan.
All right, thank you for that. Mobile Journal, Francis Rivera.
Now, the World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda a public health emergency of international concern due to rising deaths and cases linked to the rare Bundibugyo strain. Here is the report.
The World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda a public health emergency of international concern. Health authorities said the outbreak linked to the rare Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus has already caused dozens of deaths in eastern Congo's Ituri province. As of Saturday, the WHO reported 80 suspected deaths, 8 confirmed cases, and 246 suspected infections across several health zones, including Bunia, Rampara, and Bongbalu. While the WHO said the situation has not yet reached pandemic level, it warned that neighboring countries remain at high risk due to ongoing cross-border movement. The UN Health Agency said the situation is especially alarming because there are currently no approved vaccines or treatments specifically designed for the Bundibugyo strain, unlike the more common Ebola Zaire variants responsible for most previous outbreaks in Congo. The Bundibugyo virus caused Ebola hemorrhagic fever, spread through direct contact with infected blood and bodily fluids. Symptoms include fever, bleeding, and multi-organ failure, with a fatality rate that can reach 50 to 90%.
This is the equity issue. And Western countries, they don't understand that when Africa is affected, they are also at risk because people are flying every day. And it means building strong system, supporting Africa, investing in Africa to have the local manufacturing of our vaccine and medicine is also the way to protect Western countries.
The Luzon grid returned to normal conditions on Saturday morning after several days of red and yellow alerts that led to rotating power interruptions in parts of Luzon and the Visayas. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines said additional capacity from several power facilities combined with lower weekend demand helped ease pressure on the system. However, NGCP said grid stability remains dependent on demand levels and the absence of unexpected outages. The agency noted the situation followed a week of strained supply caused by multiple plant shutdowns and transmission line issues. Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Department of Agriculture, Department of Trade and Industry, and Food Terminal Incorporated conducted a special joint price and supply monitoring at the Mutyan ng Pasig Mega Market today. For the details, we have mobile journalist Ray Vicente. Ray, kumusta ang monitoring dyan?
Yes, Angela Diego, nagsagawa nga ng joint monitoring para sa supply and price ng Department of Agriculture kasama ang Department of Trade Industry dito nga sa Pasig Mega Market kung saan wala naman ang nabigyan ng issue, notice or issue to explain sa mga tindera-tindero dito dahil lahat naman daw ng mga bilihin dito ay pasok pa rin naman sa price range na inilabas ng Department of Agriculture at wala naman nakikita abuso nga sa presyuhan ng mga bilihin kung saan nga tulad na lamang ng karne nasa 308 pesos to 420 pesos pa rin naglalaro ang presyuhan para naman sa isda 220 pesos yung bangus at 400 pesos ang lapu-lapu habang 180 pesos naman yung tilapia. Sa gulay naman, nasa 60 pesos per kilo yung kamatis, 10 pesos per tali yung kangkong, pati na rin ang okra, at 80 pesos per kilo yung mais. No? Lahat yan, Diego Angela, pasok, maliban na lang sa carrots no, na nasa 160 pesos. Medyo mataas yun, Angela Diego, kasi nasa 120 to 140 pesos lang yung price range talaga. Kaya naman ayon kay DA Assistant Secretary, talagang pinag-iisipan nila na magkaroon din ng price cap na 100 pesos. Pero hanggang ngayon, pinag-aaralan muna raw yan. Pero maliban dyan, meron din kinuwestiyon na isang stall dito ng bigasan. Dito nga sa Pasig Mega Market. Dahil lahat naman dito ng bigasan sumunod nga sa 50 pesos na price cap. Para lang yan sa imported, specifically sa 5% na broken na imported rice. Pero meron kasi isang stall dito, Angela Diego, na nakalagay sa signage, local siya. Pero nung tinignan ng DA pati DTI, mukha raw talagang imported. Kaya ayon sa kanila, pinababalikan ng Philippine National Police yung mismong may-ari ng tindera, mismong may-ari ng tindahan, dahil lang pumunta sa kanina para mag-monitor, wala yung may-ari o kahit sinong tindera ron at sabi raw, nasa CR. At kung natagpuan nga umano'y na palusot lamang daw yun, magkakaroon nga raw siya ng issue or notice to explain na sa nakita nila dito sa bigasan nila. Angela Diego.
Alright, maraming salamat, Ray Vicente.
In weather, rains are expected over several areas in the country. The Intertropical Convergence Zone or ITCZ and easterlies are triggering rains over Visayas and Mindanao. Affected areas include Zamboanga Peninsula, BARMM, Soxargen, and Davao Region. Here in Metro Manila, isolated rains could also occur due to localized thunderstorms.
Filipino cyclist Nash Lim stood out in the 2026 MPTC Tour of Luzon after finishing as the highest-ranked Filipino rider overall. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho reports.
At just 23 years old, Filipino cyclist Nash Lim has emerged as one of the biggest stories of the 2026 MPTC Tour of Luzon. Riding for MPT Drive Hub, Lim finished 4th overall in the individual general classification, making him the highest-ranking Filipino rider of this year's tour. A massive leap from his 15th place finish just a year ago. After 14 brutal days of racing, Lim said the difference this time was not just power, but racing smarter.
Siguro po, mas naging smarter ako mag-race. Malaking part din po kasi yung nutrition every day kasi lalo na yun sobrang haba ng stages.
From the mountain stages to the individual time trials, every detail mattered. Lim and his coach, Benedict Abad, credited a more scientific approach to training, focusing on recovery, calorie intake, and race management. After learning hard lessons from international races in China last year, Lim improved the way he fueled his body throughout multi-stages competitions. The results showed. For coach Benedict Abad, the tour also proved something bigger, that Filipino cyclists can compete with foreign riders with the right system and exposure.
Kaya nating sumabay kung tama yung training, yung approach ng training. Because basically, it's really all about training and exposure to more international races.
With races in Poland possibly ahead this July, Lim now sets his sights even higher. And for the next year's Tour of Luzon, the 23-year-old is already thinking about the podium.
So siguro next year, mas pinaka-goal ko talaga makaapak ng top 3. or top 1, tingnan natin. Gusto ko talaga step by step may improvement ako lagi every year.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
All right, heads are heads going to roll?
Akala ko kung ano yung mag-roll.
Heads going to roll today.
Sa impeachment.
Kasi over the weekend, yung ugong-ugong of a possible new Senate President surfaced again because of the debacle that happened last week. Nakakatawa.
Wala, natatawa lang ako
Debacle.
But we'll see, if nothing happens, tuloy-tuloy yung impeachment, magko-convene ng impeachment court ang Senado mamaya. Abangan po nila yung mga iba pang mga detalye na yan. Stay tuned here of course, One News.
And of course, lahat ng pinag-uusapan ng mga motions and yung mga pleadings before the impeachment court, yung mga rules, it's also dependent kung sino ang Senate President.
Yes.
And we will find out later. Although tahimik pa naman daw, sabi ni Mary Mon, alam naman natin historically, kahit tahimik ang Senado, basta may
Biglang
amoy,
no?
may scent. Ibig sabihin may
Anong
positive.
scent yung naamoy mo?
Ha?
Anong naamoy mo?
Spice boy
Pero we'll see yung sinasabi natin na proposal na amendment ni Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Ang sinabi ni Senator Rizzo Ontiveros ay ide-debate daw niya yan.
Sabi naman
Hindi siya papayag na mangyari yon na bumoto ang wala doon sa plenaryo.
Yun, so abangan nila yan. Ang dami mangyayari today sa politika sa Pilipinas. And that
Sana wala ng shooting.
Ha?
Sana wala ng shooting.
Wala na yun. Wala nang budget pang taping eh.
Ay, hala.
Ha? Di ba ano daw yun? Stage ba yun? Hindi na natin alam.
Imbestigahan muna.
Imbestigahan muna. Kala ko wala nang budget pang taping eh. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III, kapatid. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.